Lisa Raitt is the deputy leader of the Conservative Party and deputy leader of opposition in Parliament. She represents the Ontario riding of Milton since 2015, having been previously elected from Halton in 2008. Lisa has been Minister for Natural Resources, Minister of Labour, and Minister of Transportation in the Stephen Harper government.
Yeah.
Welcome to VNN, Lisa.
Thank you very much. I'm so pleased to be here.
First, to start off with, now you have been a minister for these three portfolios, and you won a lot of praise while handling the Labour portfolio from both the opposition and the government.
Thank you.
Are these your strong subjects?
Well, my career has always been in transportation, and I was raised in a family of laborers. So those were things that were close to my heart. In the last couple of years, though, I've really broadened what I'm interested in, and the number one thing that we're interested in government, when we're in government, of course, are personal finances. We want to make sure that life is affordable for everybody in Canada, especially in Milton in my case, and we want to make sure that they're getting the tax breaks and the tax credits that they deserve in order to keep our lives going.
So if the Conservative comes to power, hopefully, do you think you will be in charge of one of these files?
I leave it to the Prime Minister's share to figure that out. I'll serve gladly wherever he decides to put me.
That's a nice word, isn't it? Prime Minister's share.
Prime Minister's
Sounds
share
good.
rings a bell. I like that.
Okay, tell us something about Justin Trudeau's carbon tax, because he's been going on and on and on about the same subject.
Yeah.
Yesterday he was in Nunavut,
Yeah.
and he was talking the same thing.
Which is silly, because the people who are going to pay the most for the carbon tax are going to be the people who live in the coldest parts of the country, because they have to burn a lot of fuel. In their case, it's diesel. The carbon tax may look good on paper, and they may be able to argue it, but the issue is that it's putting on the backs of ordinary Canadians the full cost of an environmental program, and it's letting the big polluters, the big guys who do all the emissions, the big companies, 80% of them are getting exemptions. So you can live next door to a power plant that burns coal, that's sending all kinds of emissions up their smokestack, and you and your little house next door will pay more carbon tax than
And
they do.
if you drive a car, you are punished.
Absolutely. Everything gets more expensive, transportation, cost of food. And if your kids play hockey, if your kids play any sports, those fields are going to get charged carbon tax as well. So you're going to see kids' fees are going to go up, schools are going to have more expenses. It's going to be terrible. And that's why we believe that the province of Ontario has a plan that does not include a carbon tax, and they should be allowed to implement that plan.
Yeah, Trudeau keeps alleging that Andrew Scheer has no plan whatsoever. What is the Conservative plan?
The Conservative plan is pretty simple. First of all, we trust that the provinces will seek to reduce their own emissions. Yeah. But secondly, our role in federal government is to encourage reduction of emissions by using technology, not by putting taxes on people. So we will give you a tax credit if you want to retrofit your home, put new windows in, put a new furnace in. We'll give you a tax credit for that so that it's not costing as much. And we also want to make sure that companies have incentives to create the green technology that's going to help us reduce emissions. So we will provide grants for certain types of technologies. And if you develop something that does reduce emissions, we'll cut your taxes from 15% corporate rate to 5% on that technology.
This will be from the federal level, or this will be implemented at the provincial level also then?
I don't know what the province will do. Maybe they'll join up with us because they too are seeking to have green technology as the forefront.
Yesterday, Andrew Scheer was in Roxham in Quebec, and he spoke about this illegal asylum seekers. Although the Liberals and the NDP don't like that term, they call it irregular border crossers. But they are illegal asylum seekers.
They are.
Because they don't come to the right way. They are jumping the queue, but there are thousands of refugees waiting in camps outside just wanting a better life. And here, we don't allow them because there's a backlog of such applicants. What do you think of this? How do we stop this?
What I like is you understand what the issue is and how it is about queue jumping. So around the world, we have millions of people sitting in refugee camps waiting for their turn to come to Canada so that they can claim asylum. And the people who are coming across at these unmanned borders are actually buying a plane ticket, flying to the United States, and then getting a cab.
With expensive luggage?
With their luggage.
Expensive luggage,
and their
iPhones and
and then they're here in the country, whereas everybody else has to wait outside the country in refugee camps. So I believe that our country is ready to have immigration that is fair,
Yes.
that is orderly, but is compassionate too. Think
Yeah.
of both those terrible situations. The people coming across the border are saying that the United States
It's
is a
not-
place that they need to seek refuge
Yes.
from because they've been accepted into the United States. That doesn't seem to be, it may not be the most crime-free place in the world, but I mean, the United States is not an oppressed country like you have in other places
But
around the world.
what about this third country agreement? Isn't it that we'll have to tweak it or change it? What's the proposal now?
The third party agreement's very important, and what we're going to do is we're going to make it apply at every part of the border across Canada, no matter if you're coming across at
Anywhere.
a point where you have the normal setup or where you're coming across the point where you think you're coming in through a loophole. We're closed loopholes.
Now, here in both the NDP and the Liberals have been attacking the Doug Ford government. But does this have a bearing on the federal elections?
I think my leader, Andrew Scheer, made a very good point during the debate the other night when, after listening to Mr. Trudeau constantly talking about Doug
he
Ford,
said you're obsessed
he
with
said, if you're so obsessed with it, there's a job opening in Ontario, go run to be the leader of the Ontario Liberals, because we're talking about a federal issue. But for me, I have a great partner, an MPP there. His name is Parm Gill. And Parm is a fantastic MPP. I enjoy working with him. And quite frankly, with the Liberals taking such strong words against their federal brothers and sisters, how do they possibly think that they would be able to do any kind of work together with them by the way that they're treating everybody in Ontario? Because the Ford government is a majority government. It was voted on last year by a majority of Canadians here in Ontario. You should respect the Premier instead of picking fights the way he is. And I think it's unseemly of the Prime Minister.
Yeah. And I mean, do you think Andrew Scheer is too soft-spoken? I mean, shouldn't he be more aggressive in his approach?
He was
That's
pretty
what I think
aggressive in
that's
the
what-
debate.
But I think on a general tone, people say he's so polite and so soft-spoken, so gentle. I think a little more aggression, a little bark, a little bite. I think that should really catch people, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, he is passionate about issues associated with children, and he's passionate with issues associated with oil and gas and the lack of resource building in the country and the economy. And for him as well, I thought it was very pointed on ethics when he turned to the Prime Minister and called him a phony and a fake and a fraud, because that's what the Prime Minister is.
I think
He wears all these masks.
Shouldn't he use more of these words?
He's going to.
He's going
The last 2 weeks of
I
the
think that's
campaign.
the last leg of the campaign,
The last 2 weeks of the campaign, we will definitely make sure that people remember well all of the bad things that Mr. Trudeau did.
How is it going in your constituency? Is it as nasty as the other place? No.
It's not. Everybody, I think when you get to a local race, you all realize you have to live in your community.
Yeah, that's true.
And taking shots at one another doesn't help. Now, I have had a number of shots taken at my leader because, again, bringing in the Doug Ford comparisons. And my point to the person running against me is, look, education is a provincial matter. We have indicated federally we're going to do everything in order to make sure that we uphold our responsibilities on healthcare and on education, and we're not going to take away any money at all. We're going to make sure the provinces get exactly what they're getting now, or even more.
Do you think the NDP is gaining in Ontario?
I do.
You think?
I do. I think the youth vote is definitely moving in the direction of Jagmeet Singh, and it's exciting to watch. We'll have to see over the next couple of days.
So this will eat into the Liberal vote?
It will.
Which would be beneficial for the Conservatives?
That's what I'm told. That's what I'm told.
Do you think
certainly.
that's feasible?
I do. I think there are some very tight races across the GTA, and there's always going to be a very strong portion of people who vote Conservative, and then there's going to be a portion of people who split between the Liberals and the NDP and the Greens. In the last election, Mr. Trudeau was able to steal the votes from the NDP and the Greens. I don't think he can do it this time because people are really upset with him. The Greens are upset that he bought a pipeline, and the NDP are upset with him about a whole bunch of stuff, including the way he's approaching environmental issues and racism issues.
So you think in the GTA, I think the Conservatives are quite strong?
I spent the morning in Brampton East with Ramona Singh, who's our great candidate there, very talented, very, very smart woman. And the people at the doors, they said, we got to get rid of Trudeau. I voted for him last time, but not this time. So at that point, we're trying to differentiate between ourselves and the NDP.
Yes,
But they're thinking about Conservatives for the first time in a long time.
Anything you would like to directly address your constituents?
Well, I want to say that I've served Milton for the last 11 years, and it by far has been the best job I've ever had, and I've had the great honor of representing you nationally. And I've delivered locally. I've built the Arts and Culture Center. We've brought the Velodrome to Milton so it can be part of the athletics portion of a new university. We've expanded sports facilities, built new roads, made sure that infrastructure was in place for new development. And I want to be there for the next 4 years of making sure that whatever growth happens in Milton, that we get our fair share from the federal government. And that's what I promise I can deliver.
And the provincial government is doing good work in your constituency.
You know, Parm Gill
Gill
is
is,
doing a fantastic job, and he is open, and he listens to constituents, and he brings in people, and he's very much there for the small businesses in Milton, and he's there for the university, and he's there for the hospital, and I really enjoy working with him, and I think together we can deliver some significant things for Milton.
In the beginning, you said that transportation and labor are your strong points.
Yeah, yeah.
You would like to get one of those ministries, isn't it?
Oh, well, as I said,
As it
Prime
depends on
Minister
the-
Scheer
but,
will decide whatever. I enjoyed them, and they were great. And you know, Milton being where it is, it's very important transportation.
Now, as a deputy leader of the opposition, you handle your. Are you in the shadow cabinet, or
I am.
you are
Justice, because
Justice.
I'm a lawyer as well.
Okay.
So Andrew asked me to be in charge, and I was the one that did the representation for the Conservatives when the SNC-Lavalin matter
Okay, yeah,
went
that's-
through all the committees, and I cross-examined Jody Wilson-Raybould and the clerk of the Privy Council and Mr. Gerald Butts as
all
well.
those SNC-Lavalin has all been pushed under the carpet now for the time being, is it?
No, because we've promised that when we're elected, we are going to do an inquiry to find out exactly what happened, because the Prime Minister, Mr. Trudeau, has not allowed the RCMP, the
Yes, to
documents,
investigate.
in order to be able to properly investigate, and we're going to let that happen.
Well, thank you, Lisa.
Oh, great pleasure.
We have had the honor of having Lisa Raitt, the deputy leader of the opposition in Parliament, with us in our VNN studio.